Hello, in this video I'm going to discuss how to complete some of the derivations from our complex conditionals module. So let's start with 1.6 LRS 82. We can start by saying show S, which is our conclusion, and then we're going to pop in all of our premises. And there is no premise 4, so that's all of them. We want to look for opportunities at this point to apply the only inference rule we have, modus ponens, or MP. So we look for our conditionals, and we have a conditional on line 2 and a conditional on line 3. And we know that modus ponens says when you have a conditional and you have the if part, the antecedent, the part before the arrow, then you can apply modus ponens to those two sentences and you'll get the consequent, the part after the arrow. So we want to look for opportunities to apply modus ponens. So 4 is not a conditional, so that's not what we're going to look at. We'll look at lines 2 and 3. And if we look at line 3, first thing we can do is ask, okay, what do we need for modus ponens? What do we need for MP? This is the main conditional. This is the antecedent, which is itself a conditional, and that's the consequent. So for MP with line 3, we would need Q arrow R. We look at line 2. Line 2 is also a conditional. This is the main conditional. That's the antecedent, and that's the consequent. And so for MP with line 2, we would need P. So now we want to look and see, do we have either of these? And luckily enough, we do. On line 4, we have P. So we can apply MP to line 2 and 4 together, because 4P is the antecedent of line 2, and that's what we need for MP. So we will write 2 for MP. Now we have Q arrow R, and so now we have another conditional, and for MP with this one, we would need its antecedent if we were going to use a smaller piece. If this was going to be the conditional premise, then we would need a Q. So if we're going to do MP using 5 as our conditional premise, we need Q, which we don't have, not by itself. If we're going to do MP, and we've used line 2, so we're not going to use it again, but we look at line 3, we said, what do we need for MP? Oh, we need Q arrow R, and oh, look, that's what we have on line 5. So we can put 3 and 5 together with MP again, and we'll get S. And now S, fortunately, is our conclusion, and so we are done. And that's 1.6 LRS 82. What we're doing is we just find all of our conditionals and figure out, okay, if that's going to be the conditional premise, what other sentence do I need to do MP? And we look for them. When we find them, we apply MP, and we just repeat that process until we get to our conclusion. The derivations will be getting more complex because they will involve more rules later on, but right now we're just looking for MP applications. That's 1.6 LRS 82. Let's take a look at 2 more. We'll start with 1.6 LRS 84. So we'll write show R because R is our conclusion, and we'll bring in our premises. There are all of our premises, and so now we want to look for opportunities to apply MP. Well, we have 2 conditionals on line 2 and 4. The antecedent of the one on line 4 is P, and the antecedent of the one on line 2 is also P, and it has this complex consequent. So let's go ahead and use do MP. We can do 3 twice. We'll use 3 2 MP, because that's where our P is, and then we'll do 3 4 MP. And so we've used this one, and we've used that one, and we're probably done with those. Now we want to see, well, do we have any other conditionals? Yeah, we got this conditional from MP on line 2, so we want to see if we can use it. And can we use it? Indeed we can, because, oh, hey, look, there's its antecedent right there. So we'll go 5 6 MP, giving us R. R is our conclusion, and so we'll apply direct derivation to line 7, and that will box and cancel the entire derivation. So again, we're just finding where are our conditional statements, our sentences, finding what the antecedent is. In this case, it's P for both of them, and looking and seeing, do we have P? And conveniently we do, and so then we go ahead and apply modus ponens, giving us these 2 lines, and then we see, well, what more can we do with our new lines? Maybe interacting with our old lines or with each other. In this case, the 2 new lines interact with each other. We can apply modus ponens to both of them, giving us R, and that completes our derivation. Let's look at 1 more. We'll look at 85. We'll write show Q, that's our conclusion, bring in our premises. Okay, we only have 2 premises in this case. So 3 is a conditional, its antecedent is p. If we have p by itself, we can do modus ponens, MP with 3 in that p, but we don't. We look at 2. 2 is also a conditional, its antecedent is p arrow q. So if we have p arrow q, we can do modus ponens with 2 and that other sentence, and we do have p arrow q on line 3. So we'll say yay, 2, 3 modus ponens, and we get a new sentence. Now we want to see, okay, well, with this, will this new sentence interact with any of our old stuff? Well, it's not going to interact with 2 because the antecedent of 2 is p arrow q, and in any case, we've just done modus ponens with 2, so it's somewhat unlike as our conditional, the conditional premise. So probably we're not going to use 2 again. Now 3 is a conditional, and we just used it in MP, but it wasn't the big conditional. And so we might want to look, can we do modus ponens with it? And of course we can. This is the antecedent of that. And so we can do 3 for MP. We get Q. Q is our conclusion. We apply direct derivation. We're done. So there we go. Again, we're just looking for modus ponens applications. What can get tricky is sometimes we reuse lines and sometimes we don't. When we have a conditional and we use it as the big part of as the larger premise in modus ponens, the more complex premise, where the other premise is its antecedent, we're not going to do that again. But we might use that sentence again in some other way. So what we know is, okay, once I've said, okay, here's a conditional, and I got it, and I found its antecedent somewhere else and used MP with it again, that conditional we're not going to use in that way again. But this conditional, right, well, first we used it because it's the antecedent of some other even bigger conditional, and we got P out of it from these two. And then we said, oh, well, it's also a conditional itself, and so if we get its antecedent, we can do MP where it's the conditional premise, and we did, and we got Q. And so we used P arrow Q twice, once as the antecedent of something else, and once with its antecedent. And that's perfectly possible. So there you go. If you have any questions about those derivations, please let me know, and good luck with your next derivations and symbolizations.